There we go. So, welcome to Keep Dancing. I'm not at my usual spot with this show today. I'm actually at my computer because I didn't have enough energy to set up the whole set. And that actually leads me into the topic for today, which is challenges. Challenges are multifaceted when it comes to living with multiple sclerosis or pretty much any other disability, I think. Um, you just have to deal with it. And I'm going to go into certain kinds of topics and tell you more about what my challenges are and what I think other people with MS or other disabilities can relate to. So starting off, I do have wet hair because I just showered. Um, it's gonna dry throughout the video, but showering is actually a challenge for me because depending on the day, if I have a good day, I'm all good. I gotta go slow and I'm taking definitely way longer than any able-bodied person. But on the bad days, I can shower alone. So I need to have help with that. It's not so much the showering itself, but getting out of the shower and toweling off. So my balance is off then. I like to shower rather warmly, aka maybe a tiny little bit too hot, and that affects my body temperature then, and that affects symptoms of my MS being a little stronger. So I gotta go slow, and on the bad days I need help. So I can't, on the bad days, like say I have a bad week, I have to schedule, okay, which day am I gonna shower? I can't be spontaneous about it. I have to make sure Yuan is here, or I gotta call my mom and say, okay, you gotta come over. I need to take a shower. Yuan is at university. Can you help me, please? So it's not just hopping into the shower every morning and yeah, just going about your day. I'm actually going for every other day. And if I have a bad week, I don't shower for 3 or 4 days because I don't have the energy. I'm usually then in bed and at home, so who cares? But that's just something that's a challenge. If you're used to being able to do anything and everything at your house whenever you desire, and then you move on to, okay, Monday is a full day, I can't shower there. I have an appointment on Wednesday, so I gotta shower sometime on Tuesday. Oh, when is somebody home to help me? That's just a weird thing that you got to be okay with, that you gotta accept. And the major thing about living with MS, and I guess any other disability, is you gotta adapt. You get really, really good at adapting when you live with this kind of disease, I think. That's a good thing. You're really good at adapting. The bad thing is you have to. So the circumstances that make you have to adapt are usually kind of shitty. So this was just one tiny little thing that is around the house where I had to adapt, where I need a lot of help, where it's a challenge for me because I'm a person, I like to do things on my own. I like to be the boss of my life, and I like to, well, do things around the house, go out, live life, blah, blah, blah. And with so many things, I need help. Another thing that I definitely need help with is anything that is outside the house. So I do have a car. It's an automatic, so I was able to drive it up until December, but then my spasms were too wonky for me to feel safe on the road and not injure anybody else. So I said, okay, I'm not gonna drive until I have made my car into an accessible car, so I can do the speeding up and slowing down kind of thing with my hands. I'm missing the technical term, I'm sorry about that, but you know what I mean. So currently I'm unable to go outside the house pretty much on my own. I'm unable to do that, or I need to spend so much money to do that. So if I go by car, Jan has to drive me. He is allowed to drive on my car. He's on the insurance. I put him there. So he's pretty much my chauffeur for the time being until my car is hopefully, well, adjusted for me to drive it again. If I want to go, you could say, oh, go by public transportation. Yes and no. There's some things about public transport that I cannot handle on my own. So if I need to go, say, to the city, like downtown, I gotta take a bus, like the metro, and or the S-Bahn, which is kind of like a train thing, in case you don't know that term. Getting into the bus is okay. So at my bus stop, it's okay. The curbs are high enough for me not to have too much of a gap to, well, get into the bus. So that's fine. I can manage that. But getting out of the bus on my own, that's really tricky. If I'm having a super good day, I'm actually able to do so. If the bus stop is at a place where there is a high curb and the bus driver goes really close to the curb, so the gap between the bus and the curb is not too big. If that isn't the case, I can't get out of the bus on my own. I would have to ask people, and I have no problem with that. But that entails that there have to be people around being able to help me. So no other disabled people, no other frail people. Or the bus driver has to help me. So then there's a certain spot in German buses for disabled people, and I'm sitting there. So would have to walk all the way up to the bus driver and tell him, you got to help me get out at that and that spot. I have to walk up to him too to get my ticket. So I have to leave the rollator behind, walk up, pay, get back, sit down, and then only the bus can get going. And there's some bus drivers who are just maybe not as observant. And I've been more often than not tumbling in the bus. So they were going already. I hadn't even set my buttocks down on my seat, Jan being the one showing the ticket, and on specific times I can ride on his ticket. So he went up to the bus driver and said, okay, this is the ticket, and blah, blah, blah. And I just tried to sit down, and they were going already. So being, well, not that great with balance and such, it's super annoying for one. It is potentially dangerous for me. And it is very, very exhausting. That's only the buses. If I go to the metro, which I had to connect to just to go to the doctors, for example, it's the same thing. Most of the metro stops do have an elevator. Some don't. I cannot take the escalator. I cannot take the stairs. I have to have a lift there. And then there's, which is most of the stops that I'm going to, but then there's again the thing, gaps. Gaps between the platform and the train are so big that I'm struggling. And there's no way around it. There's no ramps or anything that could maybe help me. I need to have another person help me. Again, there could be other passengers that I could ask. But say I want to go out to a pub at night, and yeah, there's maybe only drunk or very few people at the metro, I'm gonna have trouble. I'm not gonna be able to get on or off the metro. It's even worse with the S-Bahn because most of those platforms are not connected with a lift, so they're not accessible for me. There's one that I would have to take to go downtown, and it has like 30 steps up, then you go straight for a while, and then you go 30 steps down. I wouldn't be able to catch the first, second, or third S-Bahn coming, because it just takes me forever. It's very exhausting, and on the bad days, it's impossible for me. So public transport is not really a thing I want to rely on here in the city that I'm living at. It might very well be very different for other cities, but Dortmund is not accessible when it comes to public transport very much. So that's just something that is very difficult for me. And the third option is I gotta call a cab. And that takes a shitload of money out of my budget. So I have to decide, okay, do I really, really want to go there? Or do I really, really have to go there? And then I call a cab. That's not great. And honestly, it's a challenge for me. Because again, I'm a very... well, I want to do things on my own. I want to be able to do things on my own at a reasonable price. And transport there is very challenging for me. Once I do have my car changed up to, well, for me to be able to drive it again, that's way easier for me. But, and this is the big but, this changing or updating, upgrading of a car, making it accessible, is really expensive. I'm looking at a bill of 10 to 15,000 euros. I gotta pay that on my own to make my car useful again for me. Now, that's not your typical allowance throughout the week. It's a shitload of money. I can live with pretty much a year of that, say 15,000 euros, just rent, internet and food, and I gotta spend that money to make my car accessible. Now, I'm very fortunate that I can kind of afford that, but what about other people who can't, who don't have the budget that I have? So that's the general thing where people can very easily feel excluded from public life. And sometimes I do feel excluded too. And I'm still at a very fortunate spot where I can participate in public life quite a lot, with a lot of help, but I can participate. I don't want to even imagine what life would be like would I not have my support system around me and people around me who are very willing to help, who are giving me rides, who are very patient when we take public transport together. And it's not only Jörn and my mom, but my extended friend circle. They are all very helpful. They all don't mind walking really, really slow because I'm not that fast. They don't mind me booking the tickets for the cinema so that I can book a spot where I'm okay with the accessible spots. Like for wheelchairs, I park my Porsche, aka my rollator, there, and then I book, for example, the seats in the same row so that I don't have to take any steps because there's no handlebars there. And with some of the cinemas, like the theaters, the seats aren't high enough for me to hold on to while I go down some stairs. So this is just something, it's ridiculous, I know. But it's a challenge. It is. You can't maybe go to every cinema that is around you. You can take the cheaper, more cozy, cooler ones, but you have to take the one where it's maybe a little more accessible. Or you have to make sure that you're having a really, really good day so that you can take the cinema you want, not the one that's way more expensive and at least doable for me with help. And going out on my own with nobody around me is pretty much a thing that doesn't happen anymore, at least for now. Again, once I do have my car available for me again, I think that will change a tiny bit depending on where I'm going. I can go to my doctors, for example. I know my way around them. One of the doctors, my neurologist, is absolutely accessible, no trouble there. My GP is partially accessible, but I know how to manage there, so I can go without help. But what about theaters, pubs, cinemas, galleries, all of that? This is currently not accessible to me if I would go out on my own. It can be accessible again when I have my car. So this is just something, your world gets so small sometimes, and you have to rely so much on help, where you feel like, oh, I want to do something on my own. I can't even go out and buy like a surprise gift for Jan because he has to be there. So there all these kinds of things, they're tiny little minute things, but all of those added up make it to be challenging for me sometimes. It's against my nature to rely on everybody all the time, but currently I have to. And it then translates into mental health, having to accept that, having to be okay with it, having to actually like it to a certain extent, and not only feel as if it is a burden, that I am a burden to somebody else maybe, although probably I'm not, but this is what I feel like. So this is a thing you have to learn when you live with an uncurable disease that will get worse and worse and worse the older you get. So I'm not gonna stagnate at this point here with my abilities. It's very likely gonna get worse. I don't know when, I don't know how much, but it will progress. And knowing now that I have to rely on people even more in, say, 15 years, for my mental health, this is just a really, really big challenge. And there's things around it. Let's stay with the mental health before I get to other things. How I deal with it is I'm a person that is very good at, okay, I'm not gonna get angry about things I can't change. I can't change my disease. I have no power whatsoever over that. I can try to make things as good as possible, eating healthy, not having stress, trying not to have too many infections, blah, 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 blah. But still, I don't have any say in how my MS is going to progress and when it will progress. So I'm not thinking about it. It's just, okay, when it happens, I'm going to deal with it then. I'm not going to think about it. I'm just silencing those thoughts all day long. And I'm just like, yeah, whatever. This is how I deal with it. I deal with the day-to-day. And I'm getting frustrated with the day-to-day if it is bad. But most of the days, even when I'm not doing good, I'm just like, yeah, whatever. It's just a bad day. It's like, whatever. Other people have bad days too. Other people have way worse kinds of diseases. I'm actually doing good with it. So why should I be angry? Why should I be frustrated? Why should I put myself down for that? I don't. It's just a part of me. It's just these legs are kind of wonky, and yeah, it looks funny like I'm twerking when I stand up. I don't care. It's just part of life. This is kind of like pretty much not even a motto, but this is just part of my character. It's just, yeah, it's part of life, whatever. I can't change things there. So I just accept it, and I accept things really, really quickly when they are in that realm. If there are things that I can change anything or do anything about, I'm not as acceptant. Not even close. I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm pretty much just screaming at the top of my lungs in my head because I can change something. And if things don't go well, then I'm totally frustrated and I'm getting a call and I have to take that. So where was I? Oh yeah. Um, I'm way more frustrated when I know I can change things or can change a situation, and something isn't working out then because I maybe am not doing things well, or I'm just pretty much fucking up. That's where I get frustrated because I hold myself accountable and I'm very disciplined. So if I don't manage then, and as a result, my disease is, well, maybe a bit more tricky or a bit harder to handle, that's where I explode. But never out loud, all in my head. And then once I'm calmed down, I'm sorting through things, going at it about like with a work project. Okay, this is where I want to go. This is what I got. Okay, how do I get there? And planning out things and then executing. So all in all, I'm pretty calm about my MS. But there's still a little strain on my mental health because sometimes you just get so sad. You want to do things, you're unable to do them. You are maybe wanting to go to a certain concert, or you want to go out with your friends, or you want to go on vacation, and it's just not gonna happen because you can't manage. And this is where I get sad, really sad, because again, like I said earlier, your world gets really small. It becomes really, really, really small sometimes. And that is something that I'm struggling with every so often. Not every day, because I'm very content with myself and my surroundings here, but still life gets very small. You might not plan as much ahead into the future. You're not looking forward to a certain vacation for 5 years because you got to save up money to, well, go. It's you can sometimes, or not you, I sometimes don't allow myself to even think about it or think that far ahead, because planning something is really difficult. It's a challenge. What I find very frustrating is, say, like 2 months ago, my mom asked me, "Oh, do you have any plans for Christmas or for New Year's? Do you know already? Do you have the kids? Are we gonna meet up? Are we gonna go to your brother's house? Are we gonna be at your house? Do you have any idea?" And I'm just like, I don't know. I know what I want to do, but I can't plan it. I can plan short term, but it is very, very challenging to plan long term and then be not frustrated or super sad and depressed if plans fall through. This is something that I'm trying to figure out. I'm getting better at it, but this is something very challenging, and I tend to make it happen. If I want to go somewhere, it doesn't matter how bad my day is, I'm going to go there, but then I might not enjoy it because I'm in pain or I'm so exhausted that I can't really participate. So I'm there physically, but I'm zoning out mentally, for example. And doing that with any kinds of long-term plans is a huge challenge when you live with MS, because you can't even sometimes plan for the next day, because you wake up in the morning and it's like, oh no, this is a bad day. Oh gosh, and I wanted to do this, or I wanted to go out, or I wanted to meet up with somebody, I wanted to do this. And you can't really beforehand say, okay, I'm gonna take a slow day. I'm gonna save my energy for that particular day in 2 weeks. You can't really do that, because even if you do that, it doesn't mean that you're gonna have a good day and can be out and about in 2 weeks for whatever you wanted to go out. And that is a really, really big challenge. You are getting really good at doing things short term, but not being spontaneous either. That's a whole different thing. That's the I'm not sure I need to spend a lot of money if I want to go out kind of a thing. I can't be spontaneous either that much if I'm on my own. If I have help, that's a whole different story. But yeah, say going on a date, I wouldn't take you on with me, honestly, because it's kind of weird. But I can't be spontaneous going out on a date. And I can't plan too far ahead, saying, okay, we're going to meet up on a date in a week. Not possible. Sometimes it even doesn't work with, oh, let's go out on a date tomorrow. Nuh-uh. I can't say yes or no. I have to say maybe, if I feel good. I'm sorry if I don't. That's just, or can you get me at my house? I'm not going to be able to get to the restaurant on my own, or I have to spend a lot of money doing so. All of these kinds of things are challenges. A challenge doesn't mean that there is no solution. It is just extra work that you have to do. And this pretty much sums up life with MS. You got to do the extra work. You got to advocate for yourself all the time. You got to rely on help very, very often, probably. And you have to adapt and be okay with things. And you have to be okay with the maybe state of maybe I go out, maybe I don't, I'm gonna check that tomorrow. And it can change not only from day to day, but hour to hour, even minute to minute with some people. With me, it is day to day mostly, or half a day that things change. So I might be not good in the morning, but I'm okay in the afternoon, or vice versa. But it just makes it very unpredictable of what your life is going to look like the next day. And adjusting to that and being okay with it mentally and not falling into a deep depression, I think is one of the biggest challenges for people with MS. And very, very many people dealing with MS do have some form of depression coming with it, because it is just so much that you got to do extra while you have way, way less energy than any able-bodied person might have. So balancing that is kind of difficult, and I guess you get really good at listening, not only to other people, but listening to you, and paying attention to yourself, just the tiniest, minute little changes, the tiniest, most maybe unnoticeable nuances of things, unnoticeable for other people, like able-bodied people. We get those sirens and alerts going off in our head. It's like, uh-oh, am I gonna have a bad afternoon? Do I need to take a break now? We really get good at listening to our bodies. If we don't, we will probably, pay the bill for that, and maybe have another flare-up, or having really bad days quite often. So that is the good thing. You get in tune with yourself way more. But you could do that also as an able-bodied person. You don't have to have a disability to do so. So that's not a bonus. MS is not a bonus there. Another thing that is quite challenging is anything financial. So say you get this disease rather early in life, so early 20s maybe. You didn't have time to maybe have a well-paying job for a decade and have quite a bit of savings for you to be able to, just pay the money to participate in life. And I'm not only talking going out and culture and such, but mobility aids. Especially in Germany, I can't talk about other countries, but in Germany, you might have to wait weeks, if not months, for a new wheelchair or a new Porsche or whatever, if you can't afford it on your own and you say, fuck you, health insurance, I'm going to pay it and I'm going to get it back when I do my taxes. But you are forced not to participate at life or in public life, or even have trouble with your personal life if you don't have the funds to just say, okay, I'm going to order that rollator from the from at the internet, from that store, blah blah blah, and I don't worry, and I can afford those 300 euros, and I have it delivered tomorrow, and then I can, these kinds of things. So if you are not well funded, that's a whole other challenge that can make your world even smaller than it already is, and way smaller than you want it to be, which again then might give you depression or not living life to the fullest, just going through the motions instead of living, if you know what I mean. So these are all challenges that we got to deal with way less energy. And I had said earlier, you got to advocate for yourself all the time. And especially in Germany, you got to do that all the freaking time. I'm not talking about medical stuff, so doctors and medicines, things like that. I think we're pretty good there because, well, we have a different kind of a healthcare system. But anything else, any support, be it financial or just perks, like a parking spot for like an accessible parking spot, so that is a little wider. You have to have a certain degree of disability to be able to park there. You have to fight for your rights to get that label that you are allowed to park on that spot, and you have to invest into lawyers maybe, or you have to invest so much time, doesn't matter if you have a lawyer or not working on your case, you have to invest so much time and energy for something that you definitely need to be able to participate in public life. But you don't have the energy, and you don't maybe have the financial budget to do so. So very many people say, okay, I'm just not going to do it. I'm just not going to go out. I'm just going to sit in my flat and yeah, whatever. Very many people do that, especially sometimes, let's say people 50 years and up, because they're just sick and tired of fighting. Now, I happen to have a very, very I'm missing the word. My sense of justice is very pronounced. So I'm fighting. I'm not gonna give up. But even I do struggle with finding the energy and the time and the nerve to fight for what is right and what I need as support. So anything that is monetary, there's a certain thing that ties into German healthcare. When you have a disability, you can get funds for like a service to come to your house, people coming to your house, helping you clean or helping you shower, helping you with housework, all of that, helping you with the extra expenses of being a disabled person. And it took me, I think it took me 3 weeks or 4 weeks to even call them and say, okay, my situation changed. I'm not married anymore. Now I don't have to pay. So since I have very low income now, I'm I'm actually not having to pay for medication anymore. I didn't have to pay for all my medication, but I had to pay like a tiny little fee per sort of medication that I got. I don't have to do that anymore. But you have to have no or very low income to be eligible for that. That was one thing that I had to call for. Then I had to adjust anything that revolves around my household. So I do have what is called Pflegestufe 1. I have to adjust that. For one, I might get Pflegestufe 2, which is a little higher, and you get more funds for that. But I had to take care of that, like making the appointment that somebody comes here, evaluates how my life is, then puts it into a score sheet and says, okay, you are staying in your level or you go up a level, which means I get more funds, blah, blah, blah. Just being on the phone for maybe 2 hours with the health insurance company took me 4 weeks because I didn't have the energy. And energy means like on top of managing daily life, making sure there's food in the fridge, making sure that I get dressed in the morning, that I do work, that I take care of Jan, that I take care of the kids, blah, blah, blah. That stuff that you got to deal with, that you need support for, it's on top. So you sometimes just don't have the energy. And it sometimes is made really difficult for you to get access to the things that are rightfully and lawfully yours. So I can understand when other people say, I don't have the energy, I'm not gonna fight the fight, which for me is, well, not the way I want to go down, because, well, I'm a fighter for what is just. But even I struggle sometimes, and I have a lot of energy still left, at least on the good days, which are, I have more good days than bad days, I'd say. So I still have a lot of energy, but, well, I need energy for very many things. So I can't only take care of that. Then there's also the thing that I have to adjust now with my level of being handicapped. So I have to fight with that office again. I will probably have to hire my lawyer again, just to fight and say, okay, this is really what it is. I have to go to the doctors to get reports and certain certificates, and you have to do that over and over and over and over again. And this is really a challenge, because again, you don't have energy all the time you just can't handle it. There's too many things, and there's not a place that is like, say, I don't know, an office that only has employees that are helping you out. So you can go to one office, have all your stuff and say, okay, I need help with this, with this, with this, with this. And they jump in and do the phone calls for you, or hire a lawyer or help you out there. There's nothing like that. You have like 15 different offices. It's not 15 in my case, but just saying a number. You have 15 offices and you have to do the same thing again and again and again and again and again. Every office on their own. So this is just, it takes a lot of time. And if you want to also have a job while you are being disabled, if you want to participate in life, if you want to have income and not rely on welfare, maybe, there's only so many hours in the day. We need way more rest than other people, but we are forced to deal with way more things that need a lot of energy. And that is a huge, huge challenge. It is for me, because I have to have a good day. I have to have a free day, so no doctor's appointments, no dealing with this, no dealing with that, no dealing with whatever. I have to have a free day, I have to have a good day, and then I can sit on the phone for 2 hours or 3 hours and deal with one office. Yeah, that's a challenge. But some offices are designed that way. Once you have it for life. which is good. Others are, oh, you got to apply again and again and again. And I'm dreading the day where I know, oh, fuck, I got to call again because that year is over. And it's like, oh, that's a challenge. I don't mean to be me here, like, no, but this is just real life. This is what it entails to have a disability and to fight for your shit, you know? So yes, that's a that's a challenge too. I can't talk. So that's a challenge. That's something that is maybe invisible from the outside. I recall my mom saying again and again when I told her about stuff, oh, I did not know about that. If you don't have somebody in your close circle, like family or friends, who deals with that shit, nobody knows. And that's true. There's some pages or groups on social media where this is discussed, where people from the outside can see. But if, say, my mom is not on social media, she doesn't have access and she didn't search for these kinds of things online, so she had no clue. And I think that with very many things, it applies for the general population. They have no idea because they all have their busy lives. They all got their own challenges. They all got their own things to do. And they also only got 24 hours in a day. So making time to learn about what it is like to live with MS or any other disability is maybe not the top one priority for people. So they don't see it. There's people that say that people with MS are invisible, and I tend to agree to a certain point. With some, the disability is way more visible, like with me. With Jon, it is not. It's very invisible with him. But people see other people in wheelchairs or with a rollator or with a cane or something, so that is kind of visible. And honestly, I get looked at a lot because I look quite young. If there have been very many people in the last year that didn't know how old I was, and they guessed I was something between 25 and 28. Now I'm 10 years older. I'm on the last leg before 40, but I look rather young. So when people see me outside with my Porsche, they think I had an accident, or they are even more sad when I tell them, no, it's MS, and that Porsche is going to stay there until I maybe need a wheelchair. They think, oh, you're so young, that's unfair. Yes, it's still unfair. I'm young-ish, maybe. We'll see. But some of them are surprised. Some of them are shocked. Some of them are very sad to see how challenging and difficult it is to get out of the metro or into the metro or a bus or whatever. And they sometimes look away because I think it's just maybe too much to handle. It's just kind of embarrassing, maybe, because I'm not embarrassed by that. I'm showing the world, okay, this is my disability. You can watch or you don't. You can look away. That's totally fine. But this is what it is like. So maybe people start thinking, okay, it would be, why are we not having an accessible public transport system in the 21st century? Maybe some people think that. I do think that. But maybe people that don't deal with disabilities or don't have anybody in their close circles with disabilities then see, okay, there's a lot of people struggling. Now, I had said earlier the world might get a little small and maybe we are not visible. I think one of the reasons is that, well, we are definitely not as visible as we could be. And that is because public life is not accessible sometimes, or very challenging for people with disabilities. So we tend to make our world smaller and stay in our apartment, in our house, and maybe the close surroundings, but we don't tend to get out maybe as much. I'm not talking about everybody here. So I know there's people flying back and forth and being really visible, but the the, the majority of people maybe limits themselves. I'm definitely one of them for now. Limits themselves, makes their world a little smaller, just to be sure that they can access it any day of the week. So that's something that maybe has to change in society. At least I think it has to change in society. Whenever something is built, be it a road, a sidewalk, whatever, it has to be accessible. That's one thing that I demand. There's like, I mean, I live in Europe. We do have very old cities, and there's cobblestones, which are very tricky, not only for people in wheelchairs, but also for people with a rollator. So I'm actually it's yeah. This is how weird it is. When I go out somewhere and I don't know what the location is like, I Google beforehand. I look at street maps. I look at Google Earth pictures, for example, or other images just to see, okay, what does this look like? Is it cobblestones? Is it not? Are there stairs? Are there not? Are all the restaurants on, say, whatever kind of a street, say, for example, Bermuda Dreieck Bochum, which is like the pub zone in Bochum, neighbor town. Do they have a step? Are they all accessible? How do I get in? What are the chairs like? I do have to spend time in advance to even be able to decide, can I go there on my own or with somebody? Or do I have to opt out and say, okay, if we choose that restaurant, I'm not going to come. I'm sorry, I can't. Can we go to another place, or I'm going to just skip the meeting this time around? So I have to spend like 30 minutes or an hour, sometimes more, just to figure out what is the spot like that I want to go to, before I can actually think about, okay, I could go there. And that doesn't really entail do I have energy? Am I going to have a good day? But it's just okay, on the best day, am I able to do that? That has to be done beforehand. I have to invest time in that. So I said earlier, I can't be spontaneous. I can't do that. I can't just answer a text or a call that says, hey, you want to go out tonight? We're going at this place. Do you want to join? Like, not tonight, texting early in the morning, but maybe like an hour before everybody meets up. And then I'm like, okay, do I have energy? Yeah, I do. Am I having a good day? Yeah, I do. Let's sit down at the computer and scout the location if I'm actually able to go there. That's not spontaneous. Spontaneous would be me saying, yeah, sure. Or, nah, not today. That's totally different. So there's living with MS has the challenge for you to be less spontaneous, but don't plan ahead too much. Scout pretty much every location, at least when your disability comes with you having trouble to walk. You have to scout the location. And yeah, just dealing with the inaccessibility of whatever location you are in. So it is a challenge, and all of these tiny packets that I just talked about, there's way more, but I'm looking at the time I recorded for about an hour almost. Gonna leave it here. But all these tiny little things make for a huge pile of challenges that might overwhelm you and might make you not participate in public life, because you look at this huge pile of challenges and unknown things and, well, maybe dangerous things or exhausting things, and if you don't say to yourself again and again and remember and really remind yourself, hey, let's pick it apart, one thing at a time, it might be so overwhelming that you're not participating anymore. And that makes for very lonely people that don't get the chance they feel to participate in daily life, public life that is. And then that leads into, we are maybe invisible out there in the world, or we're not as visible as we could be. So challenges arise with pretty much anything. Challenges arise with life, no matter if you have a disability or not. But dealing with new challenges in your life is just something that is quite exhausting, that you have to be willing to do, that you have to put quite some energy to work on things. You have to exhaust energy that you maybe would have used for other things just to be able to participate in public life and have something of a life that you call yourself life, and not just watching from the sidelines or waiting for the day to be over. You know what I mean? So I do definitely advocate for anything that is built accessible. It's a must-have. There's no way around it. And I think even cities especially cities, anything that is public, they should pay fines when they don't build anything accessible there. If they make it difficult for a huge crowd of people to not be able to participate in public life. When it comes to like companies, shops, blah, 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 I think they're on a good way already to be accessible because, well, they want customers. And I had said it in a story on Instagram. It was in German because I ranted like shit. But very many companies do have way better accessible toilets, for example, than public offices or train stations in my city. So they are doing a little better, but still there's a long way to go. So there should be an incentive for them, another incentive, and I can't think of anything specific from the top of my head, but there should be an incentive to make shops, restaurants, whatever company surrounding accessible. Just saying. You want my money? I gotta get there. It's as simple as that. But yeah, you also should make sure, and this is, I guess, the thing that you might want to start with, you should make your own life as accessible as possible for you. That means not being embarrassed when using mobility aids, not being embarrassed of your disease at all, whatever your symptoms are, whatever you're dealing with. Because I think if you are able to make your life as accessible for yourself as possible, and I mean within your apartment, house, whatever, it helps with the mental health, and then subsequently makes you maybe have more energy or curiosity or just pleasure to participate in public life, even if or even when it is really exhausting, challenging, and maybe not as accessible. So you got to do the foundation first, which is your immediate area. so that your mental state is okay in that regard. And then you can go out, and people in public life, well, have to make it as accessible for you as possible, especially towns and offices and all of that. So these are my thoughts. These are some of my major challenges. Again, I do have smaller ones, but that would be too much here. If you want to hear about what I find to be smaller challenges, let me know. I will make a video about that. Just hit me up in the comment section. And thank you very much for watching. I hope you got a bit of an insight into what my life is like, what I deal with. Again, these are not challenges of other people, maybe, but I know of quite a few people that have the same challenges as I do. So maybe you can relate because you're dealing with the same things. Maybe you're just curious and you learned something here. I hope you don't forget about it. Maybe you just get a little more in tune with other people. Maybe you see things quicker, pay more attention because you heard it. I would, fingers crossed, I would love for that to happen. And I hope you have a great month. Thank you very much for watching. Take good care, have fun. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, want to see more, there's art videos, board game videos, a podcast, a vlog, and the Keep Dancing show. If you want to see more of that, peruse the channel and subscribe to the channel, and I'm going to see you on the next video. Bye!